Okay, let's see. Orientation is locked. I don't know what that means. Seem to be. Come on, I need to start.
Yes, straight on this one.
All right. You want it so? Or you want it so?
Did I?
Right.
Good.
Okay, good. So, better yet? Right. All right. I was asked a question by a very lovely young lady called Chelsea concerning why women have difficulty achieving an orgasm. Now, it's not something new. It's not a new question. A lot of women, when they get into a sexual situation, they expect that the person will have the technique to assist them in having an orgasm. Now, men don't make a woman have an orgasm. A woman must be able to have an orgasm to portray or to be able to have it when they actually in a sexual situation. Most of the times, men, well, I did a video on deception by men, where men would deceive women into thinking that they are all this good and they can do certain things to you. But if a person does not have the ability to do the things sexually for you to have an orgasm, to help you to have an orgasm, you're going to have difficulties. So let's use some examples. The first thing is the length of time a man would take to initiate the sexual act and actually enjoy sex with the person. If the person ejaculates quickly, now we all know when a man ejaculates, they're no longer interested in sex. They're no longer interested in cuddling. They don't do the things that they're supposed to be doing. When that happens, they lose interest in you. So if a man loses interest in you after ejaculating, there's nothing that is being done to stimulate you. Now, prior to that, what you call foreplay. Foreplay also brings a woman to a certain level or a point where it's easier for her to achieve an orgasm. Now, let's erase all of that and start at the beginning. If a woman have had a poor lover from the very beginning, meaning a person who does not know to do the things, and they were rough with sex, or they were only interested in the size of their penis, and they're doing sex in a way that it is all about a revenge kind of situation, that the man is actually having sex with the woman, but he's not having sex for pleasure, but he's having sex to prove a point, that woman will not get the pleasure that she's seeking. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of women will tell you they'll fake it. They will try to get it over with as quickly as possible, simply because it's painful, it's not enjoyable, but they're faking it. Now, sometimes we blame women for faking it, but they fake it because they like the person, they want to be with the person, but the sex is not that good, or it's not something that is going to push the woman forward or have the woman enjoy sex. So a lot of times, you have women who have been having sex multiple times over a number of years, but never achieving an orgasm. There are some women, when you talk to them, they don't know what an orgasm feels like. And that's something that may sound strange, but it's very real, because they just don't know what an orgasm is all about. Because the person was never able to assist them to get to that point of achieving an orgasm. So what they do is they fake whatever is happening to get it over with as quickly as possible, because it is painful to them. It is not something that they're enjoying. So if you're not enjoying sex, obviously you want it over with as quickly as possible. Taking these things into consideration, even if a person have had multiple partners, when you move from one partner to the other, there is something called learning the technique of the individual. You cannot start off with a woman today and understand her body fully. That's impossible, right? Now, men are more the action individual. The woman is one that requires you to do the action that is going to bring her to that point of enjoyment. If you're not putting the effort into whatever you're doing and giving that woman that satisfaction, you're going to end up in a lot of problems. The woman, that is. Because the guy is not doing what he's supposed to do. But most women are shy. Most women are conservative. They will not want to come out and say, I need this done, I need that done, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And the reason for that is one, because of society. They don't want to be viewed as someone who, is promiscuous. They don't want to have that slutty way of talking because they don't know how they're going to be viewed or judged. That's one way. Another way is they themselves are not aware of their bodies and what the potential of their bodies are. And that's a very serious thing. If you have a poor lover, and I'm using the word poor here, means he's functioning poorly. Not poor in sense of dollars and cents, but he does not function well sexually. What happens is that the woman is never brought to her full potential. You need now to take the time to understand your partner and understand what it is that drives the person. Driving a person sexually is both mental and physical. The mental connection that you have with the person allows you to have a better physical connection. Sometimes we want to have the physical connection, but we don't want to do the mental part of it. We don't want to understand that she needs a certain position in order to achieve an orgasm. She needs to be held in a particular way. She needs to be caressed, kissed, cuddled in a particular way in order to achieve that. We don't take the time to find out these things. And that's where the difficulty comes in with a lot of couples. A lot of persons have an issue with that because they just don't take the time to understand the workings of the woman body. Now, let's say, for example, a young lady engaging in sex, and we're using the legal age at 18. But when she were in her preteen years or teenage years, she was interfered with. That's what the terminology we use in Trinidad, interfered with, meaning she was sexually abused. She may not have told anyone. It may have been a rape situation. It may have been a fondling situation, whatever it is, but it's sexual abuse. That will create something in the mind of the individual. What it does, you and I could never know that. What it does to the person, the scarring that it does to the person, you and I could never know that. But the manifestation of that comes about in the sexual encounter that the person has afterwards. So, if the person was sexually abused and it continued over a period of time and it moved from something that they didn't want to do into something that became a bit enjoyable and they just gave up and they were going with the flow, the sexual act after that has to be different for that person. If it's someone who was traumatized by whatever was done to them, and make no bones about it, it's a mental trauma. It is a mental trauma whenever you interfere with somebody. But there are some persons who sexualize it because that's how they deal with it. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to share that this has happened to me. And this is something that went on for a period of time. It might be a family member who did it. It might be somebody you trust. And the person may have threatened you and say, if you say anything, we will hurt you or hurt your family. So when you hear these things, there's a mental scarring that takes place. But with that mental scarring, it does something to the person's sexual behavior. Two things happen. You'll find that persons who have gone through such trauma either become promiscuous when it comes to sex, or they retreat within themselves. Right. Two things can happen. So, if the person becomes hypersexual, they may be acting out certain things to get that satisfaction because they themselves don't know their bodies. Because if you have gone through this sexual escapade at a young age, not understanding your bodies and the behavior of yourself when it comes to that interaction, how do you know what to do? And again, there's no one to talk to. Even if you go to a guidance counselor or you go to one of the counselors that they have in the government service, they cannot tell you how to sexualize that. They themselves may not understand that part of it. So there's always a psychological part of sex. So that is one extreme. The other extreme is that the person was brought up in an environment where it was protected. They never had any interference. They were not exposed to things of a sexual nature. They may have heard of pornography, but may have never seen pornography. They may have never had any sort of exposure, even to their own bodies. And there's some women that they're so shy about themselves, they don't even know what their bodies look like sexually. They're not aware of their vagina. They're not aware of their breasts. They're not aware of these things. They can't even touch themselves because it may be ticklish. It may be something that they consider to be squeamish, or it may be even dirty to them for me to touch myself. Someone like that also don't know their body. So someone might ask the question, what about those in between? Those in between may have a working knowledge of their body. They may have a working knowledge of masturbation, touching themselves, never interfered with, so they never was placed in a sexual situation, but they having sexual feelings. Just as much as you have persons who don't have sexual feelings at any age, there are those who have very strong sexual feelings at an age when they're not supposed to. And when we deal with the issues in society that we have today, where we have young ladies having their periods very early, so they're becoming mature in a particular way, but yet still the law says you're not sexually mature in order to have sex with someone. But you are having sexual feelings. A person, and I don't want to use an age because I don't want anyone to think that I'm going into a realm that I shouldn't be going into. A person who is underage, legally underage, having sexual feelings, who do you go to talk about it? Who is the person you go to talk about the feelings that you're having, whether it be male or female? But we're dealing with the female here because the question was asked about how do you get that person to come? And we're leading up to that. Who do you talk to? You talk to your mother? You talk to your sister? There's no one to talk to. That's where the problem comes in. If there's no one to talk to, there's no one to interact with, and there's no knowledge out there, no information out there that is going to help this child, and I'm using the word child here very loosely, this child to understand what is happening. So the person is getting these feelings, the person has this confusion going on because I'm supposed to be learning my work, going to school, getting an education, but yet still I have these feelings that I cannot understand. What do I do? That person may start experimenting on themselves, touching themselves, doing things in the bathroom, frotting, rubbing the vagina against something. And you have a lot of young women who does that, underage women. It's a form of sexual stimulation for them. So you have these three instances where someone was introduced to sex, someone who don't know anything about sex but needs the sex because they have the sexual feeling, and someone who has no knowledge of sex and don't have sexual feelings. Do you, as a man, approach each one of these individuals the same way?
No.
The answer is no. It cannot be. But do you know what happens? Most men are so egotistical. Most men think with the other head as opposed to the brain. And they think that sex is all about inserting a penis in a vagina and ramming away. That is what sex is about. It is not. Because if you understand the workings of the individual, sex for you would be different from sex for her, would be different from sex for her. Because you talk about three diverse individuals. So when I talk about learning the chemistry of the person, that's what you do. You spend time with the individual. You get to understand their mindset, what they think about sex. Now, this is not getting in a situation and you're rushing to do a quickie. If you're rushing to a quickie is a quickie. So there's nothing you can do with a quickie where you have understanding. It is a quickie. Let's get this over with as quickly as possible. Let's get our kicks and move our way. That's what a quickie is all about. So whether you get satisfaction or not, or whether you get a kicks out of whatever is happening, that is what a quickie is all about. But we're talking about a fulfilling relationship. If I have to fulfill my desires with you, I need you to do certain things for me. The very same thing, I need to do certain things for you. The more I fulfill your desires, the greater chances I have of you fulfilling what I need. Right? So, if a man takes his time to understand that this person is my lover, but she is not the lover I had last month or last year. She's different. She acts different. She sees the world differently. She may be educated differently. She may be a person who has different values when it comes to society, moral values and whatnot. She may be someone who is more religiously grounded or not. She may have never had any exposure to things that were sexual. So how do I approach that person? I have to now take it upon me to teach. You become a teacher. But how many of us go there to tutor someone? We want to get the satisfaction of sex. I want to bowl and get over with. I want to break. So if you're thinking along those lines that I want to get sex and get sex as quickly as possible and get this thing over with, what is the level of satisfaction for the individual?
They have no satisfaction.
Now, what is left for the woman is for her to fake. So that's where the deception comes in. She knows she can't tell you, hey man, you're satisfying me. Because the man might get angry, he might lash out, he might call she a hoe, he might call she all kind of derogatory names. And that is the reality of it. So it's difficult for a woman to actually tell a man, here what? You know you're doing it right. Because you're attacking the ego of the man. If you tell a man, here what? That technique you have there doing nothing for me, you know. You go say, but Janet is like it that way. But you're not Janet. You're not Sheila. Right? So the technique that works for the other person may not work for you. It's not the technique that I like. That is where the verbalization comes in, the communication part of it. But if you're shy and a person asks you, how do you like to have sex? It's like, I really don't know, you know. Which is the truth. You don't know because you were never exposed to her. You were never exposed to that. Right? So if you were never exposed to it, you don't know, and you honestly don't know. Right? Therefore, how are you going to get the level of satisfaction or the stimulation to achieve an orgasm? An orgasm don't just appear out of the blue. Now, there's some women who can be very orgasmic very quickly. There are women like that. But it has to do with how you feel about the person. It has to do with the level of excitement you have when you saw him and you say, God, I love her coming, boy. He does just do something for me. And as soon as he touches you, your vagina gets wet and you're ready to rump. And the rumping now is that as you start to kiss, you're getting closer to having your orgasm. And as the penetration happens, you get an orgasm. Yes, that happens also. But does that mean to say, I am satisfying you? The orgasm comes about from your mental stimulation, you know. So let's say now, all that has happened, and we get into the penetrative part of it, and you're not multiple orgasmic. Don't you think as a man stops after he have an orgasm, stop getting the sexual feeling? Don't you think the same thing happens to the woman? She may just want to cuddle, and the man is all raring to go, and he's like, you want to hug up now?
You're ready to go again.
He wants to go, but he hasn't gone yet. He hasn't gone really yet, because what happens is that you have gotten that orgasm from the thrill. There are things that thrill people that we have to come to terms with. Having sex in an environment where you could get caught, that's a thrill. Having sex in a vehicle, a moving vehicle, not that I ever advocate that. Please don't ever have sex in a moving vehicle. It's not something but there are people who get a thrill out of that. And I've seen videos of women having sex with men while the vehicle, and the guy is trying to drive and the woman is riding him. But that is not something you ever recommend to someone. But I'm telling you, this is the reality of the situation. These are the things that happen. So you get a stimulation and a thrill out of doing something like that. Having sex out in the open when not only getting caught, but rain falling. That is a thrill. Doing a quickie where you know your parents in the next room. That is a quickie and that is a thrill. But we're not talking about those things that are a thrill that is going to bring you to an orgasm very quickly. We're talking about making love. We're talking about taking your time and assisting this person to actually have the orgasm. That's what we're talking about. And in order to do that, you have to understand the workings of that woman's mind and body. Because the mind plays a great part in the behavior of the individuals, in the body movement, in the way the vagina interacts with the penis, in the way the mouth interacts with the mouth of the other individual, in the way the mouth interacts with the penis or the vagina. It's all about that connectivity that you have with the individual. So the individual who is highly hypersensual and sexual, it doesn't take much. But if the man is rushing into it, she may get a a certain level of stimulation that she can carry that out into whatever she's doing afterward, whether it be masturbation or whatever afterward, to have the orgasm. Or she may have had the orgasm and she's multiple orgasmic, so it goes on. That's easy. That's an easy one. But if the person is traumatized by the sexual escapades that they had before, how do you deal with that? There are women who break down and cry during sex. Why do they cry during sex? Because it triggers something that has happened to them. It may be the technique of the individual, it may be the approach of the individual, it may be the size of the person's penis, it may be smell that the person has, it could be anything that will trigger the person and may cause them to cry. Because it is no longer sensual, it is traumatic. So understanding the trauma of the individual, how do you deal with that? As a man, you have to empathize. You have to try to figure out, well, what have I done wrong? Or why are you feeling this way? Is it something that I am doing? Or is it something that is in your past? Your past is the foundation of your sexual life today. No big that is a fact. Your past experience is the foundation of who you are today sexually. Your past inexperience is also the foundation of who you are today sexually. So if you are a 20-year-old woman going to have sex with someone, you've had sex with, let's say, 1 or 2 partners before that, but you don't have the experience and you were never able to enjoy sex to the fullest because no one of those 2 partners or 1 partner that you had before was able to take you to that length and teach you how to have sex. What happens to you? You're still in a learning stage and you're not being taught. Because the man is not taking his time to teach you about your own body and the reaction of your body.
It have some women that don't even know what an orgasm feels like.
Right. And if you don't know what an orgasm feels like, how do you know you have experienced one? So the question that has been asked many times is, how do I know when I have an orgasm? How do I know? It's an intense sexual feeling, but they say, yeah, this feel intense. But it's not an orgasm, you're just feeling intense because of the moment, because of the guilt. You might be scared that you get pregnant. And that could give you an intense feeling, but it's not an intense sexual feeling. So you don't know the difference. But if your partner takes the time to work with you, and I'm talking about during the act, work with you mentally, physically, emotionally, to help you to understand the reaction of your body, the plugging of the penis into the vagina, the kissing of the lips, the connectivity that you have, that circular connectivity that you have with the mouth to mouth, genital to genital, you are going to feel something different. Because this person is actually helping me to feel something I never felt before. So, added to that, you have the oral technique. Sucking of the vagina, cunnilingus. Doing it properly so the woman enjoys the feeling throughout her vagina. There's some men who don't know how to perform cunnilingus. They just don't know how to suck a pussy. They don't know what to do. They will lick. And the woman will be trying to tell them, not there, a little higher up. And they're licking one spot and she's twisting and turning and trying to get him to put the mouth on the spot, but it's not happening. And the reason that it's not happening is because he's not reading her body movement. And he thinks he's the greatest lapper of a vagina that he'd ever had. And he's not. And this is one of the problems we have with men. So when I do seminars and whatnot, and you try to trying to direct him as to what to do, but he insists on doing it the wrong way. How do you tell a man that he's doing it wrong? Your husband. The first thing he's going to say, so who does do it right for you? Oh, where you learn that? He's going to accuse you as opposed to, okay, let me listen to the woman, what she's telling me to do.
That's when you hold his head and you say, right there.
And after, right, you hold his head and say, right there. And you know what he does? As soon as you move your hand? He slips back into what he's accustomed to doing, the wrong thing. He slipped back to his comfort zone as opposed to your comfort zone, as opposed to what will make you feel good. How could that be good for you? I'm not knocking any men out here. I'm not bashing anyone. I'm trying to get them to understand that there are techniques, but the same technique does not apply to every single individual. So if you want to make love to 4 and 5 different women or 10 different women, the technique must be different. It has to do, okay, this just came to mind. You with a lover who is wet before she starts. But she's not wet because of you. She is naturally wet. So you might be fooled into thinking, ah boy, this woman real into me, boy. Look how wet she is. But it's not that. Or you with a woman who is very dry before you engage in anything sexual. But no matter what you do, she's not getting wet. It's because the technique is not there to stimulate her to that point where she will lubricate. And there are some women who needs additional lubrication from outside in order for she to lubricate. So let's get to the technique of penetration. Do you know most men like deep penetration into a vagina and they forget the G-spot? They bypass it. Do you know why they bypass it? Because they're not aware that the G-spot is to the front of the vagina. They're not aware that that G-spot is only 1 inch into the vagina at the roof of the vagina. So they don't think, they think that the bulbous head that they have to be rammed into the vagina to the back, not to be used to the front. So the position that they take, even if the woman is on top, you could twist her in such a way, glide her in such a way that that penis is rubbing on the G-spot. The techniques that you use. And this is where sexual education comes in for adults. This is not children's sexual education. This is sexual education for adults. What are the things that I must do? What are the techniques I must use what I must implement to make sure that these things work properly? I have to satisfy you. So first of all, you have to learn to last longer. And lasting longer takes an effort. Some people say, yeah, I read the Kegel exercise, but I'm not lasting longer. Kegel exercise is part and parcel of what you're supposed to do to learn to last longer. But there are techniques also. So some person may go and Google it and say, yes, do Kegel exercise. That alone don't help you. Because if you have sensitivity of the gland, which is the head of the penis, and sensitivity of the shaft, Kegel exercise ain't going to help you.
I also heard a lot of men before they
have sex, they
jerk off the last one.
Right. That is a technique that that is a false technique actually. But a lot of men, they'll say if the second one is last longer. The second one will last longer in some men, but it may not be as good as the first one. Think about the first time. I know, in my estimation and in my years of doing this and talking to thousands of men, that first time penetration with that first, orgasmic thing that you have. I don't want to talk about myself, but I have to bring this into it. That's why I don't like to break. Because the pleasure is in the sex that you're having. So if you ejaculate quickly or make it last longer, you get the maximum amount of pleasure from lasting longer. Quick ejaculation is not something that is going to help you. It is not. So if you think that you offload one before and then you go with the second one, is it the same feeling that you're going to get? There must be a trade-off. And some men, as they get older, let's say you perfect that technique when you were 25 years of age. Your refractory period is very good between 18 and 25 years, meaning that the penis don't go soft. But what happens after you pass 28, 30, and the penis gets soft after you ejaculate and it takes you an hour for your refractory period? What happens?
You go to sleep.
Well, yeah. In a refractory period, you go to sleep. That's what happens.
But then your partner gets bored.
Your partner is not satisfied. Suddenly she's texting someone else. Here, come here now. Help me here now. You're getting horned by text. And you don't even know it. The reality of it is the techniques that you need to learn is important for you as the giver, the man, the provider of the sexual act. Not that the woman don't provide. She provides also. She provides her body. She provides her smile. She provides her emotion. She provides her vagina, her breast, whatever.
Lubrication.
Lubrication. But you are the provider in terms of taking it the distance to enjoy it. That's the man's role. And if you falter in the man's role of actually making love and taking this person to that threshold of an orgasm and helping her to cross that threshold, the orgasm is so much more blissful for the person. The woman, that she now loves you more because you are doing something for her that was not done before. And you may have opened up a realm in her that she was not aware of.
Some men don't consider that. They just rely on porn and think that,
Porn is-
everything in porn is real.
Porn
Some
is not
men
real.
actually think
Well,
that.
porn is not real. We know that.
Yeah.
So, watching pornographic films is entertainment. Just as much as you'll see one person jumping from one moving car to the other car in an action movie, which if you try it in real, you're going to end up dead. Right? That ain't real. Or a person jumping from one building to the other building. Try it in
Also,
real
the
life.
noises, most of the noises that the women make are not real. They just-
In porn? No,
Yeah.
they paid for that. They're paid to make those noise. A woman in porn are paid to act. They're paid to act. So if I touch you here, I expect you're going to react to the touch. But the touch may not have done anything to you. It may not have done anything to you physically or otherwise. But in porn, you're paid to act. So you better make noise. You better show some reaction to it. In reality, what causes a woman to react is when you stimulate her erogenous zones, when you caress her in a particular way, when you hold her. There's some women, you ever notice, well, in movies, you'll see some, when you kiss a woman, her back, her leg lift to the back. When last you see a woman leg lift to the back when you kiss her? That's in movies. That's not real. But in reality, when you're kissing a woman and she feels it, she will groan into your mouth. You'll hear the or the ah. You'll hear something. You'll hear something coming from deep within her because she's feeling something deep within her. It's not fake. Her tongue moves about differently. Her lips get wetter differently. It's not a fake. If it's fake, her mouth will remain dry. You will not hear a sound. And instead of she doing you this, she'll be doing you this. This is how she'll be kissing you. Pushing you away.
Some men get offended when women don't make noises, but they need to ask questions and understand that, the woman
The
body-
offense is really the inadequacies that men have. That's the offense. The woman will react to whatever you're doing. And if you're doing it right, she will react in a positive way. Whether it be the sound that she's making, the way that she touches you, the way that she is. Let's put it this way. A woman rushing to do things to you is because she's real pleased with whatever you're doing. And that's the bottom line. A man rushing to do things to you as a woman is because he wants a bull fast. And that's the reality of that. He is trying to speed up the process for his enjoyment and pleasure. The woman is speeding it up to give you more enjoyment and pleasure. Look at the difference. She's working her way down to your nipple. She's working her way down to your penis. She's ready to suck you, give you a fellatio, a blowjob. And you ain't ready for it. You're like, oh, no. Come back here and cuddle with me. Come back here and love me up. But she wants to give you, because she knows that's the ultimate pleasure. Some men, the ultimate pleasure for them is a blowjob. There are some men who don't consider a blowjob cheating. They can get a blowjob every week. It's not cheating. Right? I'm not saying whether it's cheating or not, because if you get it from the same person, obviously something wrong. But there are some men who consider blowjob just a way of enjoying life. Nothing wrong with that. But the woman speeds up the act of the pleasurable things that she knows the man is going to like simply because she's pleased with you. So she's rewarding you. Women use their vagina, their pussy, as a means of reward or punishment. If you vex with your man, you
Never
think you're going to
have
have
sex.
sex? Well, right, that's punishment. He could come home how horny. You could be how turned on. You say, nah, I ain't not talking to you, you ain't getting no sex from me. You might be horny, you know. You might want it, you know. But you prefer take the headache than to give him sex. Isn't that true, ladies?
Yeah.
It's a means of reward and punishment. But the other side of that, if she's pleased with you, if she's happy with you, that's why men just go out of their way to bring a gift for their wives or their girlfriend, because they know if she's pleased, are going to get some.
Some women cause trouble because they like the makeup sex.
Right, that also. that makeup sex is wonderful. But there are men who look forward to certain things. Their birthday, they're sure they're going to get sex.
Yeah.
Their anniversary, they're sure they're going to get sex. They look forward to those things. And if they could make up something in between, they want to get the sex for that. But the woman is not thinking along those lines. Because again, the mental part and the emotional part is much different with a woman. So let's get down to the technique of taking that woman from the 3 different types of women that we talk about and everything in between, because there are not only 3 different types of women, there are 1,000 different types of women out there. But we're taking it now from the point of view that I am making love to you, but I want you to achieve an orgasm. How do I go about helping my partner, assisting my partner, but in the loose sense of you, making you come? How do I make you come? I make a woman come by first and foremost understanding her body, understanding her reaction to the things that I'm doing, listening to the verbal signals that she's sending, looking at the signals that she's sending with her hands, her eyes, her lips, her body, the way she hugs me, the way she scrapes me, the way she interacts with me. Listening to when I'm doing something, if I kiss a particular area, watch the sound, what is the sound I got from her? If I lick a particular part of the body, what is the sound that I get? If I lick behind her ear, was it more stimulating to her because she was like, oh, as opposed to if I lick her neck? And I'm not talking about sucking and putting hickeys. I'm talking about you can lick without putting hickeys. So you engage the senses. So if I touch you, and when I touch you, I get a particular look from you, it's either telling me, yes, go ahead, or no, stop what you're doing. Isn't that so?
Yes.
So that's the interaction.
But is it also possible that you can have an orgasm via non-penetrative methods, but not have one via penetration? Is that possible? And how would a man deal with a woman like that?
Very possible. There are a lot of women who don't have penetrative orgasm. And it's because of the conditioning of the vagina, what she has done over the years. Like, for example, some women would like have running water over their vagina and they get an orgasm from that. Or they froth, meaning they rub their vagina against something, and that is how they stimulate their orgasm. It's like this. If a man trains himself to ejaculate quickly because he's jockeying, most men, when they're jockeying, they want to get it over with as quickly as possible because he's feeling sweet, but they don't want to get caught. So the faster I break, the better it is for me. But then it doesn't augur well when you go to actually have sex, because you have already conditioned your body to have a fast ejaculation. So that's another thing. Same thing with a woman. If a woman could only get an orgasm from playing with her vagina, playing with her clitoris, she's not going to get an orgasm from penetration. Unless she's reconditioned to do so. That is where the man comes in and says, okay, I realize that while I'm having sex with you, you don't get an orgasm from penetration. Let's try something. When I'm penetrating, I'm not going to go deep, but you play with your pussy. Play with your lips. Touch your clitoris. Now, there are some men offended by that. Why the hell you touching your thing when I could bully on you could get an orgasm?
They think that they're not satisfying you.
But they don't have the technique. I could take my finger and play with your clitoris, or play with your vagina, play with the labia, the lips of the vagina, or the vulva, and get you to that point of having an orgasm. But again, the ego comes in the way and say, why are you touching yourself, girl? I'm supposed to be doing this. Right? So, Reconditioning is like this. That's the way you're having an orgasm. Okay, no problem. Let's do that. But while I'm doing that now, I put you in a position and I'm having a different penetration with you. And suddenly now, I touch your G-spot with the head of my penis. Because of the angle that I have put the vagina in, or even if it's from the doggy style, we're hitting on the vagina. And all of a sudden you say, oh, that feeling nice. That feeling different. Go with it. Yes, darling, you go with it. Go with the stimulation that you're feeling inside as opposed to outside now. Remove your hand from your vagina and tell me if you continue to feel it. You start to recondition the woman, and the woman is now going to have an orgasm, or she may become closer to an orgasm by that stimulation, but not having an orgasm. So you bring yourself off by touching, but the next time you go back to that. And eventually you have reconditioned the person to have an orgasm from penetration. But it takes time and effort. It takes time and effort in order to do that. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, simply because the techniques that you're using has to be applied over a period of time. It's like this. If you learn to have an orgasm from frothing, rubbing your vagina against something, that wasn't done overnight. The first time you did it, you may have gotten that sweet, nice feeling, but it may not have been an orgasm. The more you do it, then you condition your body to have an orgasm from doing that. And eventually, that is what it takes to give you an orgasm. But now you're in a position where you have a partner, and there are things that you can or cannot do with him or her that you need done. So you, if you don't verbalize it, if you don't communicate it to the person, it's not going to come out. So I'm not trying to make sex a study in philosophy or communications. You know. I'm trying to let people understand that if you take that few minutes or seconds to understand what you're doing wrong, not what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and change the things that you're doing wrong to incorporate more of what is supposed to be right, you'll have a better sex life. So you're working with the woman now to have the orgasm. So that very same woman who was having sex, let's say for half an hour with a guy, because he could last half an hour, but it was a task. Because he's not hitting the spots, he's not helping you to have an orgasm. It was just a task. So I'm groaning and trying to get you to break as fast as possible, the woman that is, so that it's over, it's done with. And I turn to you and say, you enjoy that? Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was real good.
Lies.
But there's no passion in it. I will tell. Now there are tricks and techniques. Okay, for example, if you're eating a woman's vagina, cunnilingus, you're sucking pussy, you could put your fingers at the back of a woman's knee to know if she's coming or not. And if she's faking, and that vein don't start to throb at the back there, you know she's lying. There's a vein that throbs. You cannot control that vein. The same way when you're having an orgasm, your toe will curl like that. You feel you could do that. You feel you could think about that while you're faking. You will forget that. So if you are observant as a man, and you're performing on a woman, and that's again, fingers here, mouth in the vagina, but you push the knees back, the toes is right by your eye, you could see if that toe curling or not. You could tell. So if your woman is faking, you know she's faking. I sell all it out. But the important part of it is understanding what you're doing, looking at the wrong things that you're doing, the techniques, and incorporating all the right things with the person, taking direction from the person. Oversensitivity. I'll tell you this. When you go into a sucker pussy, don't suck the clitoris first of all. Some men rush to the clitoris and it's oversensitive. Isn't that so?
Yeah.
What you do is you make love to the vulva, the vagina, and then get to the clitoris. When you do get to the clitoris, the woman wants it. Not when you put your mouth on it, she's like, oh, that.
Some men are too rough.
Well, I'm talking about the sensitivity.
It's be too intense too quickly.
Right. It's too much because remember the clitoris is a sexual organ, there's no other function of the clitoris, other than sexual satisfaction. It has 24,000 nerve endings in the clitoris, that little thing there. A penis head have 12,000. So it's oversensitive. So if you go directly and start sucking on the clitoris, again, that's a wrong technique. You have to lick against the clitoris so it lubricated. It does not have natural lubrication on the clitoris.
I think you should say that twice.
Yes, let's say that twice. Don't just start to suck the clitoris. Lick the clitoris so you lubricate the clitoris. Again, to prevent oversensitivity. The clitoris does not lubricate itself. It's not inside of the vagina. Now you have 3 different types of clitoris. The under the hood, the inside of the hood, and the outside of the hood. If it's under the hood, you have to actually dig your tongue into the spot to feel the clitoris. If it's in the hood, by the time you flick your tongue, you could feel something inside there, but it's not going to come out until it's super excited. And the outside of the hood is the clitoris that you definitely don't want to put your mouth and start sucking it until it is lubricated because of the sensitivity. So even though the woman is lubricated from all the things that you're doing, it does not mean that she wants you to dive. No, when I say don't go to the clitoris, I mean to spend half an hour on the vagina and don't go to the clitoris. Because by that time she'll say, what the hell? This man forget my clitoris. If you attack the vagina, the vulva, the hole, the entrance to the vagina, and you do a fair enough job there, the woman is ready for you to go to the clitoris. Because the sensitivity part is gone. She's willing for you to go there now. But once you attack that first, the other part of the body becomes super sensitive. And she is literally trying to push you away or redirect your mouth. So the art of cunnilingus is not just knowing how to suck a pussy or diving down there and put in your mouth. It is you understanding the partner that I have and what she enjoys. It doesn't mean to say there are times that you'll do that to understand if she's operating differently, because let's say you've gone through that technique about 10 times with the person. You and I have just become lovers, and I am doing cunnilingus on you, and I realize you're reacting in a certain way. Well, what if I do it differently? Let me see how you're going to react. And that's where experimentation comes in. I am doing something different to see how you're going to react to whatever I'm doing. And if whatever I'm doing is stimulating to you, you're going to encourage me to do it by either holding my head down on the spot, making certain noises, doing things to encourage me to do it more. So the techniques that I'm doing is proper. It's what is needed by you. But you could change things around. But do you want, it's like people talk about sexual position. One time a guy called me. I say, I try about 10 different positions. And this woman I want to come. I say, this was in one session? Say, yeah, 10 different positions. But I put she here, put she so. You think a woman like to jump to 10 different positions when they're having sex? Which woman like that? Nobody likes that. You want to show she in no position, but she wants it in a particular position that stimulates her vagina. Not for you to boast and brag about the different positions that you know. Watch the person that you're having sex with and what is stimulates them, whether they on top riding your penis and their clitoris is grinding against your pubic bone, or you're hitting it from behind and you're hitting that right spot with the G-spot, or even in missionary position, but you get it into the rose fowl. Now, the missionary position to me is boring and it never should be used in sex. But that very same missionary position can be something that you could change the angle of the vagina, the angle of penetration. You could elevate the buttocks and have good sex. The point being, knowledge could be dangerous. So if you go and you read a manual on all the different positions of sex, you think the first time you're going to have sex with a woman, you'll try all 10 or 12 or 15 or 200 that you have learned? No. Keep it as part of your repertoire, that when you're having sex with the person later on in life, as time goes by, you do something different so she don't get the same sort of stimulation and it works for her. Because if I am on top of you and doing this all the time, doesn't it become boring after a while?
It becomes boring.
You can't be eating burgers every day and expect that you're going to enjoy it after 10 days. You're not going to enjoy the burger anymore, no matter how much you love it. So you need to change it. You may need to go and get something else to eat and then go back to the burger. It's the same thing with sex. The human mind gets fed up very easily, especially with things that are sexual, if it's not doing anything for you. You ready to, that person begging you for sex and like, nah boy, I don't think we should do anything. You know. In your mind, eh? But you're telling them that, I have a headache today, honey. Next day he comes, girl, boy, my back hurting, my boy. All kind of excuse not to have sex because it does
After the
nothing.
woman, I'm a period.
I think my period coming on, you know, I get that pain. Every excuse in the book not to have sex because the sex is not working for you. It's not. So you do not want to have sex the traditional way or have sex at all with the person. Why do you think couples drift apart? Because they do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. You're having sex every night, 8 o'clock. As the news finish, you go in the room. Woman lie down there. Let me put this thing inside. After a while, the woman don't even want, when news come around, she cringe. Because she know after news finish, it's time for sex. And she don't want to do it. So if the grandchild come across, oh God, she play with the grandchild till 12 o'clock. She's not going in that bed with you. Because it's not doing anything for her. So, if you understand all these little things, and you understand your partner or partners, or whatever it may be, I am not here to judge anyone. I don't care if a person is with their wife or someone else or whatever. That's their business. I am here to teach you what you should and should not be doing. What you should not be doing, take it out of the traditional things that you're doing. Incorporate something new. Learn something new. Do something different.
How do you get to that point where you could open up to your partner and be like, hey, you know, well, I think I like this, you know, I think I like granny porn, no, I think I like this kind of foot fetish. How do you open up to your partner and actually talk about that?
First of all, sexual things in a relationship is something of a taboo subject. If you don't have great communication with your partner on other things, household, children if you have children, finances, how are you going to have good conversation on sex? If I am constantly bullying you, abusing you, how are we going to have good conversation on sex? If I treat you inferior to me, you're a woman, your role in this house is wash the clothes, cook food, be in the kitchen, get pregnant. How are we going to have conversation about sex? It's not going to happen. If I tell you, well, I making more money than you, you are your mouth, you are no say. How can we converse about sex?
You can't.
You can't. So the conversation part of a relationship starts with all the other things. And accepting the fact that sometimes you are wrong and you need to be corrected. Accepting the fact that sometimes your wife knows a little more than you when it comes to her body. As a matter of fact, much more than you. Accepting that fact. Because it's her body. But if you are egotistical, if you are macho, and I am the man and you're the woman, and what I say goes, there's no communication in sex.
So what hope is there for women in that situation now?
Frustration. Majority of time it's frustration because there's no way they can communicate to their partner that I am not being fulfilled sexually. Because if I come and tell you, no, I am not being fulfilled by you sexually, it's licks, it's abuse, it's words, it's insults.
They have to either satisfy themselves or their partner gets cheated on. That's most times.
Well, that's one of the reasons why you have infidelity in relationship. Person steps out of their relationship when they are dissatisfied with whatever is happening at the moment. And they see no chance of anything changing. And given the opportunity, they will step outside of the relationship. That's why I always say, a man honing his wife will not do it in his home. He will find a hotel, he'll find a car, he'll find a spot where he could go and park up to cheat. A woman will do it on your bed. So when you feel she's safe at home, and this is a fact, she will find somebody to have sex with on your bed once you're not taking care of her. And she will do it on your bed. A man still thinks that it's taboo to cheat on his wife on his own bed, not women. Because once a woman is detached from you emotionally, she ain't gonna give a damn about you. She don't care if you're sleeping next to her. She just don't want to have anything to do with you. She will occasionally have sex with you because for whatever reason she feels sorry for you, or she's hey, you have sex in 2 weeks, let me give you my little thing, or 2 months. But it's not because she loves you. The love is gone. The emotions are gone. So there's nothing that she's willing to do to make you feel good. I think we just lost Zoom. Is it? Nothing. Therefore, how do you repair such a relationship? Professional help. That's one of the things that I do as a sex therapist, as a sexologist. I speak to a lot of couples that are on the brink of break. I don't like people to break up. Honestly, I am a strong advocate of people staying together in a relationship. I'm strong in my conviction for people to remain married, but not if it is destroying the individual and not bringing happiness to the individual. So, when a couple comes to me and they lay out their problems, there are lots of things they don't tell you. But the things that they don't tell you, you actually see it in their body language. The way they interact with one another, the way they look at one another or not look at one another. Right? If you and him are a couple and you come and sit down to talk to me, you see how you're leaning there? That will tell me that there's a connection. The minute you push your shoulder on that side and you're watching his soul, yeah, like that. That's perfect. That tells me that there's no connectivity between both of you. And you can't hide that. You can't, because you're repulsed by the person. So the repulsion causes you to sit like this, away from the person. So he's trying to pull you nearby and you pull it away. It's the same thing if he tries to come and hug you, you'll say, I'm not in the mood. Yeah. That's because of the repulsion. So the repair to that is the homework that comes with it. And the homework is wonderful. The homework allows the couple to reconnect at a different level. Now, you wouldn't forget the past. He wouldn't forget the past. But what happens is that you could guide them in such a way that they put the past on a shelf and they start repairing whatever they have in small increments by the small things they start doing for each other. Now, the man might think that for any time I start doing this, sex had to be good. Well, we'll get a little bull tonight. I will tell him no. Don't rush into the sex. The sex is the cement that binds your relationship together. Sex is the reward that you will get from the wife when she feels that you are doing all the right things. You, on the other hand, horny, because it's like this. When you ask a client who have erectile dysfunction, how often do you have sex? Why I would like to have sex every day? That's not the question I ask you. How often do you have sex? You see, in a man's mind, I want to have sex every day. Even though they're incapable of having sex every day, I want to have sex every day. That's their question. That's the answer to the question. But that's not the question. The question is, how often do you have sex? Actually have sex. And in reality, they'll say, well, I had sex last week, Thursday. And before that, I think it was somewhere in February. So you actually having sex. You're actually having sex once a month. But in a man's mind, He wants to have sex every day. So the minute things are going good between you and him, time to bull, Let me go and have sex. But no, you're not patching up anything. So why should you be rewarded? Think about it this way. If you didn't come to me for me to find a solution for your relationship problems, right? What would have happened? Isn't it possible that she would have gone out of the relationship and left your ass and go by she mother, or go with her next man, or go and live alone, or go and live with one of the daughter of one of the son? So you're not going to get sex anyway. So why rushing it? Why are you rushing it? You wasn't having sex before because she stopped giving you sex a month ago. And she may have wanted to move out of the house and say, okay, let me go by this fella they call Dr. Raj. I hear about him. I hear he good. All right? So you're back against a wall now. You're rushing by Dr. Raj when things are about to break. So before you had a fracture, but now we're coming to break apart. So you want me to weld that back together in one session? It can't. It cannot be solved in one session because there's so much hurt, so much animosity between you and the person, so much of bad blood between you, or blood flowing under the bad blood flowing under the bridge, that you cannot bridge the gap in one session. So I have to, you know what I just tell people? Romance your wife now. You remember the things we used to do? When you used to carry she to the cinema?
A lot of people forget that when they enter a relationship, they do a lot of things to get the person.
And afterwards they forget to do
they
it.
stop.
I like to say I date my wife every week. I date my wife. We have our time. We married this year would be 39 years. And I date my wife. And I have no problem with that, and I have no problem saying that. And anything that my wife likes or enjoy, even something that I don't like, I make sure she gets it. Because I am there to take care of your needs, just as you are there to take care of my needs. Right? So I know you like this particular item. And again, I don't have to buy you flower and roses and expensive stuff. I know the simple things that you like. So I will get the simple things that you like as part of the romance that I have for you, a part of the love that I have for you. So it might sound funny, but there are certain types of food, local foods that my wife likes. I'll make sure I get it for her. I will go down in the back in the garden. In my office, I have a garden at the back, you know that. And pick a mango and bring it back to her and say, I picked this for you.
She love mangoes.
And I pick it. I didn't send somebody to pick it. I climb up the tree and I pick it. So I made the effort of getting it for you. And that is the value of whatever you're doing. But you think you vex with me and I do something like that. It's like, no, you could remember I like mango. And if I put on the mango, then it might spoil. You get black spot on it. Because you don't appreciate it, because you know it's not something genuine. If it's something genuine, as you are repairing, and this is the important part of it, as you are repairing, you'll appreciate anything the person does for you because you know it's genuine. You know it's not simply because he wants to keep me home. You know it's not simply because he wants to have sex. It is because he's making a genuine effort to change. How many men out there change? How many men out there listen to their wives and put in that effort to change for their lover? Because at the end of the day, if you have a wife, she's supposed to be a lover. She's not only a wife. She doesn't play one role. She might be the mother to your children, our children, but she is your lover. And that must be very clear. So there is a differentiation between you being my wife and you being my lover, and how I treat my wife and how I treat my lover. And there must be a synergy between both, that when I am doing this, you must feel it. It's not only for this reason because I just put food on the table, but it must be because I appreciate you. So the appreciation must be there. That is the solution. Willingness to change. Putting in the effort as a man and say, here what? I have faltered. I have messed up. But you know what some men do? They're coming home in the evening. They stop by the bar. They stop by the rum shop. They go and they drink. Their breath smelling of rum and alcohol, cigarette smoke, and they want to go home and kiss their wife and say, darling, let me wake up there. And she's disgusted by you. How could that work? You're not taking the time to change your ways. And changing your ways might be the subtle things that you do. I'll tell you something. COVID, lockdown time, that 2 years of intermittent lockdown and whatnot, has messed up my life bad, you know. Before, and I'm saying this openly, and I say to my wife, before, we had such a great relationship that I could be here and not go home and go online. And my wife will have no problem with that. But because of COVID and we spend so much time together, I will have to go home first and then go online. It has messed me up. But I understand why. And I understand that now, my wife asks me questions no more than the past. But it is because we came so much closer during COVID time. So now she'd ask me, and I would look at her and say, you never would have asked me that in the past. She said, oh, yeah, well, what is the answer? She'll make a joke out of it. But there is no malicious intent on her part, and I know that. It comes about simply because we grew that close during that lockdown time. Although I still have the freedom, like I travel a lot, so I might tell there's times I forget to tell my wife I'm traveling. Honestly, she don't get vexed. She will just say, I hear you traveling in the morning. I said, what do you mean you're here? I didn't tell you you're traveling. No, you didn't tell me you're traveling. I said, well, yeah, traveling in the morning. She said, so I'm dropping in the airport, right? I said, well, use my transport. And that is her way of saying it's okay for you to go. But she vexed that I didn't, well, not vexed, angry vexed, but vexed that she had to hear it from somebody else. And she damn right about that. But like my secretary would know my travel arrangement faster than her. So she might hear it from one of them that, I'm boss traveling in the morning. She's like, okay. But when I come home now, you're traveling in the morning. And you tell me, I thought I tell you. So I make it a point now of if I'm going to do it, I will tell her. But it is because I am correcting myself. I'm not perfect. I try to be as good as possible. I don't want to be perfect because nobody can be perfect. But as I go along, I'll be 60 years this year. As I go along in life, I realize that there are so many things that I need to change or I need to tweak in my life to make things better for me and my wife or me and my family. I need to do that. How many men are willing to do that? How many men prefer to lie with the boys, do whatever, I'm not nefarious or anything like that, as opposed to going home and chat with their wife?
And also say the chain I'm from the boys.
Well, oh God, the worst person to ask advice from is a person who split from their wife or get divorced. How could he or she give you any advice? How could a divorcee give you advice on your relationship? They can't hold it.
Someone who can't even keep a woman.
Yeah. Every day the man in the rum shop drunk. Right? He have a parrot on a stick and he telling you how to fix your relationship. Listen to somebody like me who married for 39 years and with the same person for 49 years. Listen to somebody like that. Take advice from your parents who are still together. Not from your father who divorced or your mother who divorced and say, yeah, old man bad. Leave him. Horny ass. And there are women who will tell their daughter to horn. Do you take advice from those kind of people? You can't. You're not disrespecting your parents, but you simply cannot take advice from that
You have
person.
to make the choice that you think is right for you.
But you have to, if you want advice, again, I remember a marriage counselor came to me once, many years ago, I think it was about 15 years ago. And he wanted me to direct people to him. So he now started off in the business. So I said, how long you married? He said, well, I was married. You're a marriage counselor and you tell me you was married? Something is wrong. You cannot be a good marriage counselor if you was married.
It's like a convict and then he has to stay out of jail.
How to stay out of jail? How are you going to advise you like that? He will tell you, I have the experience. Yeah, you have the experience how to go back, not how to stay out. So these are the things that we take advice from the wrong people at times. We believe in the wrong things. And we really don't listen to the person that we're supposed to be listening to. We don't. We don't pay attention to that person we're sleeping next to. And that is the downfall of a lot of relationships. The relationship starts to fall apart, and instead of trying to bring it together, we start hitting the bottle, we start liming, we start looking at our next woman and feel the next woman is going to be our comfort. That is not your comfort. If you are secure in your relationship and you have a relationship with somebody else, you will know how to keep that relationship secure also, you know. Because you'll know the value of the relationship. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. Again, I'm not here to pronounce on those things. I'm telling you, if you're good at maintaining a relationship with the person that you're spending all this time with, you'll also know how to maintain a relationship with somebody else, given the challenges that they will have. Because there are challenges that you face with an extramarital relationship. There are challenges. That person may need you on a Friday evening at 6 o'clock. When Friday evening at 6 o'clock, you have something to do with the wife. So you have to know how to manage that. It's a balancing act. It's not something easy. And ask anybody who is in different relationship, they'll tell you it's not easy to manage. But once you are successful in managing that, what is most important to you, you can manage anything. You can manage your life. But there are persons who cannot manage their lives, their own lives. They put up a front when they're outside with their wife or their husband. But in reality, everything is crumbling inside. They don't sleep in the same bedroom. They don't look at each other with love. Right? As a matter of fact, I have seen persons recently going out meeting friends and whatnot, and I look at how the husband look at the wife and the wife look at the husband and say, them have problems. She's not paying attention to anything he's saying. As a matter of fact, when he's saying it's like a parrot making noise, she's zoned out. How could there be a good relation? No, they're together, they're side by side or they're opposite one another, but they're not into one another. It's like he's looking at her, she's a dummy, and she's looking at him, he's a jackass. That is the I'm not saying that they're saying that, that is the sense that you get. So when you see those things, you know that the persona or the facade that they put in out there is false. It's not real. It's not real. I cannot be, you know, you go somewhere where there's other couples and you watch the interaction, you listen to the conversation, you hear the bitterness or you hear the sweetness. You hear the love or you hear the hatred. And a lot of persons cannot hide that because they're not trained to hide it. They don't know what to do because the reality of it is that the relationship is just not good. It's falling apart.
A majority of the time, they are the first to give relationship advice.
Yeah. They're quick to give you advice because they want to portray that things are good. They want to portray that to you.
That facade.
Yeah, facade. And it's sad if you fall for that. It's very sad. I have a live radio program. Stop calling, please. Yeah. So, if you understand these little things about yourself, and again, we are not perfect. We are not perfect. But once you understand these little things about yourself, you'll understand that, hey, I could transform myself and my energies, because your energy comes from within you. Energy don't come from outside, you know. The only energy people get from outside is from the sun. Vitamin D, you go in the sun, then you start to sweat and things, and you're telling yourself that is bad. That is not bad, that is good. But nobody likes that. But the energy that you project, you see, we are not just simply human beings with flesh and bones and blood, you know. It's like this. If I take we live in a violent society, so I don't want to glorify it, but I'm just saying this. If I take a gun and shoot him, and he goes to a doctor, he dies. He goes to a doctor, and the doctor plugs the hole, sew him up, pump blood back in his body, get the heart beating, but it's coming back on. And the doctor can't bring him back alive. Do you know why? Do you know why he cannot come back alive, although they have done everything and he's supposed to be alive?
Because it's time to go.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, let's say it's his time to go. Why is it his time to go? There's a divine spark within all of us. And when that divine spark leaves you, There's no coming back. That's called your soul. When your soul leaves your body, there's no coming back. A doctor could do whatever they want. There's no coming back. Right, this is just a vessel. So it's the same thing, the divinity within you, the energy within you. Why do you feel people fall in love and they fall in love with the characteristics of the individual? It's the energy that you project. They're in love with that energy, that positive energy, your aura around you. There's some people, when you look at them and you see a dark aura, it's like, that was too dark, boy. But it's not them that dark, you know. I'm not talking about your physical color, you know. I'm talking about the aura around you. Some persons cannot identify the aura. When the aura around you shines and it's orange, that's the brightest, the orange ones. When you have that orange or hue of that or something close, you emanate positive energy. So if you are a negative person and everything, you know, some people are very pessimistic. You show them a glass with water, half the glass with water, they say, yeah, but that glass half full. I mean, half empty. They see it as half empty, the next person says, yeah, it's half full. Because he's positive, it's half full. A positive people see positive things. A negative person only see negative things. You talk and it's like, I don't like she voice. Right? I don't like how she just come she here. Negative. Look how she just stand up. She feels she nice. Only negative things. But you look at her and admire her and say, you know, she have a little flaw, but she pretty, you know. And the way she just stand, you know, it's so sexy. You put a positive spin to it. It's because you have a positivity within you. So that positive energy comes out. You're talking about two couples now, a husband and wife, and both of them dark in the relationship. Now remember, a relationship is two entities coming together to create another entity called a relationship. So that relationship has an energy of its own. So whenever I am next to you, there is a positivity in our energy that we don't care about anybody else. They must feel that. I think it's Barrington Levy sang a song. Oh, I. Let them talk. I don't know if you know it. It came out in 2000 or 2001. Let them talk,
Probably
I think
heard
is it.
but
Yeah. But that is what you create, a positivity between you and the person, and you let out positive energy. But if you are negative and the other person is positive, it's very hard for the positive to overcome the negative. It's very, very difficult. You have to channel and churn that positivity within you. It's like you're liming with persons and one person is like, I ready to go home, you know, this lime are going too good. Man, oh God. Why we here? We could have been somewhere. That is negative. You can't enjoy yourself. But if everybody's like, yes, we're having a good time. Yeah, man, it doesn't matter where we are. Yeah, there ain't nothing. Oh God, the rain falling, but the roof leaking, no problem, man. Because everybody's positive. So you get that positivity and the lime turn out to be real nice. It's the very same thing with relationship. Being able to transform your environment into a positive environment. The only way you can do that is if you have that divine spark in you and you have that spirituality. People talk about religion. We are not talking about religion. I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about you in connection with a higher, stronger force. Understanding that there is something greater than I am. I am me, but I am not the end. I am part of the whole cosmos. I am part of it, but I'm not the end. There's some people who feel it's so damn important that they feel it's the world, you know.
The world revolves around you.
Correct. They think that, because I have a name, because I'm Mr. So-and-so, because I have a radio program, because I on TikTok, I supposed to be real important and people must gravitate towards me and bend towards me. No, that doesn't make you important. What makes you important is the way people perceive you to be. They must get that radiance from you and say, I would like to meet that gentleman. When you walk in a room, everybody's like, who is he, boy? Your positive energy that you have. Person wants to know who you are. They want to come near you. Not because you are so-and-so. You give that positive energy where you attract persons towards you. So, persons who are not so strong in their spiritual being cannot connect properly with their own partner. Especially if you're in a home where one person is spiritually connected and the other person is not. So you're talking about instances where persons are disconnected. They're not on the same wavelength. Today I made mention of a person about wavelength. Now, 5 minutes before they ask me about wavelength, eh? And they know I have a program at 4 o'clock. Come on, give me a chance. I have a program between 4 and 6. Give me a chance to do my program. It's not so important that you have to talk to me now. You could talk to me after. So I told her, I said, come on, think. I have a program now. Don't ask me about wavelength now when you could have asked me that at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Right? This is what I'm talking about. The wavelengths that persons are at, they're not connecting. They don't understand that I am vibrating at a different wavelength from you.
They are on a different frequency.
Frequency, correct. So you need to meet my frequency. And this is the relationship we're talking about now. If I am vibrating at one frequency, and you and I in a relationship, and you are vibrating at a different frequency, how are we going to connect?
You'll have no kind of unity.
None.
No kind of...
So I have to do something to either bring you to my wavelength or come to your wavelength. And we have that synergy between us. And we are able to see things not the same way, but to actually look at the same thing and say, yes, I understand what he sees, and I hope he understands what I see. And that is the answer to that question. So you see how much it takes? It is not an easy thing. So, if you're not on the same frequency, you're not on the same wavelength, how the hell am I going to help you to have an orgasm? If you don't connect with me mentally, emotionally, physically, environmentally, how are we going to, okay, when I say environmentally, you can be in Timbuktu and I in Russia and you're having an orgasm that is satisfying. Eh? You could have a virtual orgasm, but it's not the same. Virtual reality is not reality. It's called virtual reality. It's not reality. If I am next to you and I'm touching you and we are connecting at that level and I'm smiling with you and you're smiling with me and not laughing at me and you look into my eyes and you feel it, don't we connect differently? So virtual sex, there's a place for virtual sex and all those things for who want to be safe and who don't want to connect at those levels and whatnot. But it's not a good connection. It's not. So when persons ask me about long distance relationship, yes, it could work, providing that you are willing to do the sacrifice to make it work. Because when I was away for 6 years from my girlfriend into fiancé and wife, it didn't affect our relationship because we make sure we connected at different levels and at different times. There was that connectivity at all times. So when persons ask me, can I make my relationship work although I live or although I'm in another country, the answer is yes, I have done it. So I know it could be done. But if you don't put in the time and effort and the workload that goes with it, it's not going to work.
And both have to.
Well,
Not
both,
just one.
yeah. And like everything else, trust is the foundation of love. If you don't trust, how could you love? If I don't trust you, right? Because I'm not with you 24 hours, 24/7. Like I said, you could horn your partner, a man could horn his partner and look for outside areas to do that, a hotel, a office, a bedroom, the partner pad, the car, to have an extramarital affair. A woman will do it in your house, in your home. It's that simple. And once you start understanding that, you'll understand level of trust. You'll understand different things. Because you are not, if I don't place that trust in you, where if anybody ever spend an entire day with me, which you have done as my personal assistant, how many times my wife does call me?
All the time. Probably every half an hour or so.
Right.
She'll call to check up on you.
What she will call about? Not to check up. My wife will call to check up. She'll call to check up on the business. My wife don't call me for what you're doing or whatever. That is not anything. That don't happen. Because the simple fact is I don't call her. unless it's something to do with the business or something that
Important.
something needs to be done, something important. It's not to find out where you are, what time you're getting home, or anything like that. Because that level of trust must be there. And it must be there not only in the eyes of other people, but you must have that. It must not be something false. It must not. I will travel for 3-4 days, and you know the only time my wife and I will talk? When my plane land. When the plane land, the first thing I do, plane landed, and she comes for me in the airport. She would not have heard from me for 3 days, because there was no reason for us to communicate. But it doesn't mean to say I'm not thinking about her. It doesn't mean to say she's not thinking about me. But we don't need that. I have been with people that the wife constantly, yeah, so who you with? What are you doing? I could lie. No, if you're doing that, I lie. Well, it's like one time I was driving and a guy called me and he said, where are you? I said, I'm going on Marval Road right now. He said, boy, you really don't lie, boy. I'm right behind you. Why would I lie about where I am? If you call me and ask me where I am, I'm going to tell you where I am. Because that's where I am. So imagine you tell your partner, your wife or friend, somebody, I am in Cedros. And you're really in Matlot. And coming down the road from Matlot, your car run off a cliff. And the wife watching news now and she hear a person die in Matlot. She thinking it's you. You're in Cedros. So that cannot be you. So why lie? What are you going to accomplish by lying? These are the little things that you have to understand. All these little things. I have been here for the entire day, right? My children wouldn't call me to check up. I'll call, sometimes maybe 2-3 days will go by and I wouldn't call even my mom or my dad. But I try to call them every day because just to keep in connection. I try to do it because, but we're not accustomed to those things. It's a funny thing with our family, you know. We would travel, reach as far away as India, and not call to say we reach, you know. Because there's no need to. The only time you'll get a call is if something go wrong. And we have been doing that since we were kids. I traveling since I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. Never call and say, hey, I reach you. That was never part of our upbringing. And it is normal for us to do that. Other people say, oh, you're bad. No, we don't. We don't call each other and tell them that we reach or everything's safe. You'll call if something going wrong. But that is how we condition ourselves. It doesn't mean to say it's the right way. It's right for us. It works for us, but it may not work for you. So in your relationship, understanding what it takes, that mental connection, physical connection, the understanding of the behavior of the individual to make things happen for that person is important. It's not difficult, you know. It's not difficult if you put your heart and mind to it and say, I am actually going to take the time to understand the situation and to do the right things because I want it to work. If you don't want your relationship to work, it's not going to work. And we must understand that. We must put that to the forefront of our mind. If I do not put the positivity into my thinking about my relationship, it's not going to work. It's going to, because you are injecting something negative that is going to break it apart. You are doing that. You are injecting something that is not positive, not good. So what do? You continuously weld. A relationship is a work in progress, you know, until the end of your time. It's a constant work in progress. You are constantly working on keeping your relationship going, strengthening your relationship every single day. And love is not possession, you know. Some people feel that if they possess you, if they're in love with you, they possess you and they could tell you what to do and how to think. No, that is not love. That is control. And nobody likes to be controlled for any length of time. They don't like it. After a while, they'll rebel. No one wants that. That I must control what you wear, where you go, who are your friends. No, nobody wants that. They don't. Because as an adult, you want to think as an adult. You want the freedom to make your choices. Sometimes it be a bad choice, and you make a bad choice and something go wrong, and it's like, okay, yeah. But at the end of the day, it was a choice, and it's your choice. Shouldn't be condemned for it. Help the person to overcome it. And when you help the person to overcome it, things will be much better. So, too many times, women have questions. And what I started off with is, who do you ask? And not only women, young, impressionable mind. But they go to the wrong source. Google is not human. Google doesn't understand human frailties. The information you get from a robot, artificial intelligence, is not the same information you'll get from somebody who cares for you. A simple thing is, if there's fire there, you could get burned. Your mother will tell you, don't touch the hot stove, don't touch that. AI will not understand. It will understand that if you touch it, you'll get burned, but may not warn you or tell you the things the way the mother will tell you, with the same love. It's the same thing when you approaching something artificial to get information. The best information is for those who have the experience in whatever you're doing. I know how the world is going, you know. I'm not blind to what is happening in the world. But a lot of what is happening today is going to be detrimental to our health and safety later on. A lot of what is happening. Because we are becoming dependent on things that are not real. It's not real. It's not the reality of life. When you look at the situation in our country, for example, finances, crime, accessibility to things, right? That is what is real. You will hear somebody talking. Last night I was listening to a particular person talk about how they don't feel safe in the country, but they're not saying it to that strength. They're just telling you that they can't do certain things, but they cannot connect with the person who's actually being a victim of crime. They can't, because you don't know. You could only regurgitate something that you feel you could regurgitate. And this is where a lot of time we are fooled by persons who are supposed to be in the know, but they really don't know. It's like asking, you know, sometimes persons will come to me and they have a sexual dysfunction, and they say, well, I went to my doctor and he told me so. But a sexologist looks at things differently as opposed to a doctor. A doctor is a medical doctor qualifying that. It's not to discount their qualification. But a sexologist is also qualified in certain areas that a doctor is not qualified. And we see things differently. We will understand human nature differently. And I'll give you a perfect little example. Do you believe in bad? Do you believe somebody could do you bad? And that's the question that people will ask me. And the answer is yes. Just as you have good, it have bad. Just as you have positive energy, it must have negative energy to have positive energy. So as much as you could do good for someone, there are person who could do bad to you and wish you bad and want bad things to happen. So it's not always about positivity. It's also about negativity. So I've had person come and sit down here in front of me, even up to this week, who tells me and swear by the fact that their spouse has done something bad to them to prevent them from getting an erection. And if that is your belief, it is part of the symptoms, or it is part of what is causing your problem. Because mentally, you are switched off. You think a doctor is going to listen to somebody say, hey, my wife do OB on me, or my husband do OB on me? They're going to tell you no. There's no such thing. Because there's no science behind it. But the science of placebo, they're well aware of that. So if you believe something, it is reality to you. So many a times we are faced with things that are unrealistic to the general public, but to the individual and us as a sexologist, it's real. It's real. It's affecting the mind. It's affecting the body. It's affecting the performance. So it's very, very real. So the woman who is making love to the man and the man who is making love to the woman, and she knows she's turned off of him, she knows she's no longer interested in him, she knows that he's never done anything positive for her to achieve an orgasm, it will never happen. It's just not going to happen. Because she's not connected to him. And the person who comes along and give her that moment in her lifetime of appreciation and whatnot, she's having an orgasm for him and she's like, how could I have an orgasm for him and not my husband or not my lover? Simple. Connectivity. It's like a guy not having an erection with his wife, but having an erection for the outside woman, and wondering why I have erectile dysfunction at home, or vice versa. Why I could have sex with my wife and I can't have sex with my outside woman. That happens a lot. ED is real, but ED is also something that is emotionally attuned to the individual.
It's a connection.
Connection again. So the sexual practices we have are the things that we have to pay attention to. The persons we are connecting with is also important. The first and strongest level is that I have an interest in you. And once I have an interest in you, we can make things happen. We can make things happen. We could take that interest and build on that interest and create a relationship that is so strong, nothing breaks that. The interest must be there. Communication must be there. Connectivity, understanding, appreciation. Those are the building blocks. Those are the foundation of the relationship. And it's important for us to synergize that, bring it into a ball or something that both of us could be manipulated and saying, yes, this is our relationship and this is the strength of it and this is what it's all about. So the sexual part becomes automatic. Understood? I see everybody gets sad. Why? Only thinking about only relationship or? You notice all the smile went? This is not to make you sad, this is to make you happy. So Master Control, we're about to sign off. I know we still have a couple of minutes, but we don't have any questions coming in or anything like that. So we're signing off on this end. Thank you for having us on Power 102, our digital platform, power102fm.com. Thank you for having us on our other platform, which is YouTube. Dr. Rad signing off. Good evening. Mm-hmm.